get so excited when you come here.
Yeah, I never expect to just walk up to your house and have you rolling the camera though. I don't think I'll ever get used to that. It's not.
I'm a vlogger, man.
Yeah, vlogger, yeah. One of the cool kids.
All right, so Brian's here, and we're gonna go through the final, like showing you guys the whole system and figuring out. I need to figure out my app so I can control the whole house, and so I've downloaded the Carrier app, and I'm gonna go in. We're getting the serial number for the unit, so I can go in and register here on my computer. So we have to create an account, register the account, and we can register and have a, like I'm assuming, stay logged into the app, so that I can, from anywhere adjust the AC system. Basically, I'll be able to see what's on screen here. I'll be able to see it on my phone. So we just go into the wireless area, and then it'll give us...
Yeah, that needs to be blurred.
All right, so we're all logged in. So I'm logged into the app. I'm logged into my house. And now we gotta set up the other systems.
Yeah, it's exactly like the thermostat.
Yeah.
Which is actually, that's a pretty nice thing, because it's annoying to have to figure out a different interface. If you enter your energy price, like your kilowatt per hour pricing, it'll actually track your energy costs.
So basically what I'll be doing is, so I'm gonna add the other systems. I'm not sure if we can do the mini split. We'll figure that out here shortly, but I'm gonna add each. Yeah, I wonder. So you just go to each unit and we pull up the MAC address and the serial number and then put the pin in, and then it connects, and then I'll be able to control each system from from wherever on the app on my phone. All right, so we got all my systems set up, except for the mini split. Well, yeah, we'll have to figure out if the mini split connects. And by me, I mean you.
I'm gonna figure that out for you, Matt. I'm gonna get that figured right out for you. Of course, I already know that, but I'm just doing it for cinematic tension here.
From Carrier.com, or what I would suspect I use more often would probably actually be the plate on the wall. Right. But if I ever wanted to get super fancy and feel like I'm awesome, I could pull out my app, so we can go and switch the systems. So I've got the 3 separate systems set up. Notice how I call it Master Wing. That's just for Brian, so that he knows that I'm fancy. Anyway, that's the app.
All right, I'm going to show you I'm going to show all the cool stuff now. For Obsessed Garage, I'm going to show you the secret way that you get into the installer menu.
And mess it all up.
Right, so this is the type of thing your installer does not want you to ever do.
Now it is
for 10 whole seconds.
It is kind of in the manual that they give you, right?
Well, right, but the installer's not supposed to give you the installation manual. He's supposed to take this with him, so that way you can't know all the inner secrets. So one really nice thing about this is, and I'm not going to do it right now, but it has an entire refrigerant charging menu. It's not going to let me do it because I already started the system. But when you initially set it up, you actually charge the system based on what the thermostat tells you.
Mm-hmm. So is that what before they did the run-in, they were able to get in and...
Right, that's where they go in. It gives you your target. It gives you your target subcooling with the system running. It's like the initial charging setup. But what we can do here is I can set up, so we'll set to run at 2-second stage cooling for 5 minutes. The system's ramping up right now, so it's showing the RPM of the compressor, which that's what makes this a special unit, is that you can see the compressor RPM starts to ramp up.
What about your buddy that was talking about how Train has 750, and 750 is clearly better than 7?
750 levels of, yeah. Because 5 stages, you definitely need more than 5 different RPM stages, because that's going to make all the difference, right?
Well, I want 700. I know 750 is a bigger number than 7.
Yeah, and just like I told you, this is the Porsche of air conditioning systems here.
This isn't the Hellcat, right?
Meticulously engineered. It's not designed to give you statistics that look good on paper. It's actually designed to work. Yeah, so you can see our RPM now is up there. It shows outdoor coil temperature, it shows my suction pressure, which, means a lot to a technician, probably not a whole lot to you, but it also shows the suction temperature, which is that big line. We talked about how the large line is cooler. Suction superheat, that's a super important reading. That really tells us how well our cooling capacity and evaporators running, shows us our discharge temperature. This is how hot the refrigerant is coming straight out of the compressor, so 126 degrees. EXV position is telling us that metering device, how wide open it is. So right now we're running at full wide open capacity. Shows us our line voltage, outside temperature, indoor airflow CFM, which is a really helpful metric, because I can take that indoor airflow CFM, actually take a couple temperature readings at the air handler and calculate the capacity that the unit is producing. And here's the part for super nerdy AC guys, you know, not like me, because I'm not at all. But this number right here, static pressure, 0.08 static pressure, that is crazy low back pressure on the system, which means really high efficiency. So that return that we enlarged, that went a significant way to reducing the static pressure. When I initially set up the system, I took a static pressure and we were running at like 0.4 just on the return. Now we're running 0.08, and we're not all the way up at full CFM yet. But as this comes up, when we did the initial test, it was about 0.4 total. So supply plus return, which before we were running closer to 0.8, which means that we're going to be much more efficient.
Right.
Because the blower's not having to ramp up as hard in order to pull air across it. I mean, that's just a restriction. So.
Here's the great thing. I mean, you just cranked up the system. I don't hear squat.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're not going to hear anything.
Yeah.
Of course, all your vents are off too. So
that also. Because we're painting.
But no. I think upstairs. Upstairs.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's just going to keep giving me readings and just kind of letting me know the health of the system, which doesn't mean a whole lot to.
So would this be standard, like your guys would come and they would just kind of run one of these and kind of see what's up?
Yeah, you can. And, you know, we're still generally going to connect to the system because we get a little more detailed information than even we get here. We're still usually going to connect, but this is a great kind of basic overview. And you can do the same thing with the heating as well.
Where would you connect? There's a port on the side of the...
Yep, the condenser has it. It has typical ports just like any other unit because that's where you're going to charge it. But the nice thing is that I can actually come in and check this remotely. So if you say, hey, something's wrong with my AC, I can go in and look at what's going on in your system.
Yeah, it's part of what we just set up. Is I gave you access to be able to do that.
Right. And so I can look and say, oh, you're low, your system's low on charge, or whatever the case may be remotely. That's pretty significant. Or, you know, your high voltage is broken, so it's a trip breaker. I mean, I can tell a lot about the system. Here we go. This is a cool test that it does. So this is where it actually will do an airflow verification test and check the airflow static. So it'll actually run all the way up to full capacity and see, because this airflow is the one thing in installation that gets missed most often. I mean, there's a lot of things that get missed, but airflow is a huge part of your comfort, obviously, but also what the system has to accomplish in order to produce the cooling capacity it needs to produce. In Florida especially, we have all of these flex and board systems, which are, you know, not what you see up north. And they're not the best quality, to put it that way. And so a lot of these are installed with very small.
Because they would have metal ducts.
Yeah, and you can have undersized metal ducts as well. But the nice thing with metal is it's just, you don't have breakdown over time. You know, flex, you have somebody crawl up in the attic and crush a duct, and now you've lost your capacity.
What about setting up? Like, I mean, do I need to set different scenes, or like, or I just run it?
I'm going to show you how to do that. It's really just based on what you want. My knowledge of your lifestyle kind of tells me that you're probably not going to want to do that too much, other than maybe setting it a little colder at night in certain zones. Some people, you know, and that's just a comfort consideration. But if let's say you had a really set work schedule where you're always out in the center of the day, and this is a really misunderstood concept. So the argument in the industry is, do you want the unit to go up in temperature and then you have to bring it back down again? Well, for energy efficiency, the answer is yes. Because anytime you let the temperature inside the space increase, then you're decreasing the differential between the outdoor temperature and the indoor temperature. And so therefore, you're decreasing the amount of heat that enters the house. The colder the house is, the more heat enters, because there's a greater differential between outdoor and indoor. And so then you have to, you know, obviously pay to remove that constantly with that great differential. If you let the temperature in the house rise, then your heat gains decrease. Does that make sense? Because it's misunderstood, because a lot of people will say, well, why would I let it warm up, because I'm just going to have to cool it down again.
Right.
It's true, but let's say you're out of the house 6 hours a day. Well, it's worth letting the temperature, say, come up to 79, 80 degrees, because it decreases your heat gains. The downside is, in Florida, it also increases your humidity gains.
Right, that's what I was just going to ask. Yeah.
Correct. Now, with this system, you can stand a little bit of humidity gains because it's such a good dehumidifying system, but it still plays into the equation. when you're in areas that humidity is not a big factor, areas, you know, the Midwest or the southwestern states, then who cares? You know, just shut it off during the day for that matter.
Right. Now, when it says it's dehumidifying, what the heck is it doing?
When it dehumidifies, what it does is it decreases the blower capacity, so it decreases the airflow, and yet keeps the compression ratio, the amount of refrigerant that's being moved, at a higher level, and so that runs a colder evaporator coil. So dehumidification happens because of a function of runtime, how long does it run, and how cold is the evaporator coil. But you run this delicate balance because you can't go below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, otherwise you freeze.
Right.
You create ice in the coil, so you have to stay above 32, but still as cold as you possibly can. So when it's dehumidifying, it'll actually overcool slightly, but at a very, very low blower speed. So you can see here, this is good stuff for this is a 4-ton system installed on a fairly sketchy supply duct system, meaning we can't replace all the supply ducts.
Right.
But we're still at 0.33 total static pressure. That is incredibly low static pressure. I mean, that's really, really good at full CFM.
Cool.
So that's good efficiency and good everything. All right, so if you want to set up your actual schedule, you can go and you can set up schedules. You can also do what they call comfort profiles, where you can go and just set, you know, home, away, wake, sleep, set up different times when you're going to be home, awake. So in this part here, you're just setting the temperature. So when you're home, what do you want it to be? Do you want the fan to be auto, low, medium, high?
I mean, I think I just leave the fan. I think I'd just rather just leave it at
I would just leave it. Yeah.
75 degrees, 76 degrees, and call it a day.
This is a good thing to consider too, because a lot of people will run the fan in the on position, even at a low speed, for balancing reasons. Because it helps, the air runs all the time and it circulates air. And it is good for balancing, but it's bad for dehumidification. Because what it does is when that system goes off, it re-evaporates all that moisture that's on the evaporator coil and in the pan, instead of just allowing it to drain out. So for dehumidification purposes, I would generally suggest leaving it on auto in Florida. If you're in a state that has low relative humidity, then putting it in on can actually not only help you with comfort, but it can also give you some moisture gains. Because in some places you actually want moisture in the air, so that can be a good thing. So yeah, so if you wanted it, what, 76? That's generally what you want.
Well, I keep turning the thing up. I mean, I started at 74 where I used to run the old system. And I'm like, well, I'm like kind of cold. And so then I bumped it up a degree. I'm like, I still feel good. So I bumped it up another degree. I'm like, I still feel good. So
and that is an intangible. See, this is the thing about these systems, is that's an intangible energy savings.
Right.
Because you feel comfortable at a higher temperature.
Right.
Because the system is keeping the relative humidity lower.
Right.
And recently we've had rains and we've had lower than peak conditions, which are times that normally you'd have higher humidity inside the house. So it's proving that it's doing what it's supposed to do. Now the other side of the equation is the system will overcool slightly in order to dehumidify. So you're feeling that as well.
Yeah, because I noticed that I can hear the fan running super slowly.
Right.
But and the temperature here is set to 76, and it's 80 degrees outside, but yet the actual temperature is 75.
Right.
You
yeah,
know,
it will edge down, and depending on the conditions, it can get as much as of 3 degrees of overcooling.
Yeah.
In certain circumstances, but that overcooling isn't for the purpose of overcooling; it's for the purpose of dehumidification.
Yep. Which is fine with me. So there's nothing I need to do from a telling it how to dehumidify. It just freaking does
It'll
it.
just do it. Yeah.
Right.
It just in this case, you want to just let the algorithms that exist inside this do its thing.
Yeah. So I'm inclined to just freaking leave this thing in 76 and call it a day.
Well, that's fine, but here you realize, so away, it comes from the factory, with away being slightly higher, so we're at 80. So do you want me to set that down, set it so everything's the same?
Yeah, well, what about in Florida running at 80? I mean, let's say I was gone for 3 weeks.
So then you would put it in vacation mode.
Right, but I mean, doing that, I mean, do I have to, isn't 80 a little hot?
No, 80, on a typical system, you would run the risk of having high humidity. That's the reason why you wouldn't do that. You know, you'd come home and you'd smell mildewy and all this kind of thing. Well, this system controls humidity separate from temperature.
Right.
So if it sees the humidity rising, it's still going to come on to keep the humidity where it needs to be. We'll go here and we'll set all of this the same. I don't really like the button push noises. So do you want sleep to be different? I mean, you don't sleep in this area anyway.
No.
All right. So that's it. That's your comfort profile. So you can put it on hold if you want. So if you don't want it to ever change, you can just put it on permanent hold. You can put it on per schedule. You can make it hold until a certain time. So like say you just feel a little, you want to just put it on a hold until for a couple hours, you know, so we can put it on until 2:30. Say you have a party, and you're worried about, you know, you're gonna have, well, okay, wait, it's you don't have parties, forget it. We're not gonna mention this. There was some talk of a Super Bowl party that never materialized. But no, you set it to hold until 2:30, and then set it to 74, and then it will run, you know, there until. Oh wait, the time is set it's at AM instead of PM. There. So that's basically it. If you want to, you can go in. So here it's just showing what your settings are. You can go in and make adjustments to your humidity profile. And set it, you know, right now we're set it to dehumidify 52%. If you felt like you wanted it to dehumidify a little more, you could set it down to 50. I wouldn't generally go much lower than that, because the lower you set your dehumidification, you are spending money to dehumidify.
Right.
Like you are using power to dehumidify. So if you found that you didn't want it to overcool as much as it was, and you have a little more tolerance for humidity, you could set it up as high as 56. Generally between 56 and 52 in Florida is where you want to see it. I will just leave it at.
Yeah.
No, it was at 54, right?
No,
No,
2.
52. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so overcool to 3 degrees to dehumidify is on yes. If you didn't want that, if you didn't ever want it to overcool, then you put it to no. But recognize at that point you're taking away a lot of its abilities. So at that point it can only dehumidify when it's actually cooling, which is, you know, in the summer that's going to be fine. You're not going to see You're not going to see the overcooling in the summer. When you'll see the overcooling is when it's not that hot outside, because you don't have the heat load to cause it to run. Yeah. So you could go, if you wanted to set up the energy tracking, you could set up your kilowatt usage, and then it would actually show you.
How the heck do I get that?
Off the power bill. I don't know what the going rate is, but just set the.
Oh, let me look that up.
All
Alright, so we figured out that I'm $0.1106 per kilowatt hour used. So we're gonna go over here and enter it in so we can get an idea.
Estimated daily usage, estimated monthly usage.
I'm never gonna freaking use this thing.
Yeah, probably not.
I'm gonna get my darn energy bill, it shows up and I'm gonna either be angry or happy.
Yeah, so this system is cost you 80 cents Monday and $1.51 on Tuesday to function. How does that sound to you?
That can't be right.
Why? Why can't that be right? It is right. It knows how much. Yeah. Why wouldn't that be right?
I don't know.
I mean, it knows the efficiency of the unit, the exact. It knows at what rate it's running, and it knows the runtime. I mean, it's pretty simple math. So, and we just entered in the correct pricing. So, yeah.
Right.
Like this is almost like a wizard, where it'll go through and say select days with the same schedule. So you pick which days. Well, all days are the same schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. And so now it selects all days, and then you go next. Enter the time you wake up in the morning. So, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
select whether someone is home all day.
Yes.
Yes. Select whether you want a different comfort profile when you sleep.
No.
No. Next. So it sets this super simple, just wake and home. Do you want to select whether you want to schedule the days? No. Done. Boom. That's it. Simple.
All right, let's go do the other. Here's the other room. Notice the de-yellowing though. Look at it. Yellow, not yellow. Yellow, not yellow. I like
I'm
it.
gonna stick with the not yellow. Oh hey, I want to show you this real quick. This is the thing I want to show you. This is the line dryer, and in the earlier videos I showed you that the line dryer was installed outside. Here we installed them, like very few people do this, but we install them inside that way because this is the first direction that the refrigerant flows when you open it. So if there was anything in the lines, it gets caught in this line dryer, which it's a filter dryer, so it filters out all any gunk. This has a big old desiccant core in it, and it also catches any moisture before it hits the orifice, because the orifice is where things would tend to get stuck if there was anything. So you could have systems out there where when the line dryer wasn't properly installed that have some gunk stuck in the orifice for their entire life, nobody ever knows, except with just slightly low suction pressure. Your capacity can be compromised over the entire life of the system, whereas this helps prevent that issue.
So there's our new return, our new base, and then our modified, whatever that's called.
Supply plenum.
Yeah.
Just adapting. We really have.
And instead of your diaper method, they actually mastic it.
Right. On the supply.
See, look, I'm learning stuff.
On the supply side, you just want to make sure that everything's all nice and sealed up. Now, one interesting thing about this one, when we pulled it all apart, you know, because this is new trim, and we paint the top with kills. I mean, it's not like designed to be aesthetically beautiful, but it's in case there was ever any moisture, it keeps it from absorbing into the wood and creating mildew. But when we pulled this all apart, there was no liner in it at all. It was just wide open. So this return came in and dumped into what was essentially a drywall box. And so this unit could pull dirt and gunk from anywhere, in the walls and the wall cavities, all that. So we had to. This was actually something that took a lot longer than we had initially hoped. We had to rebuild the entire box underneath from scratch, but now it's all nice.
This one here is running a degree cooler than it's actually set to run. So now we do our energy tracking.
11 cents instead of 10. Yeah. Yep. So that one cost you 63 cents on Monday, and 53 cents on Monday, and 63 on yesterday.
Because I'm not running a continuous fan, I haven't heated anything.
Right. It is pretty cool because it can show you, like if you came and you analyzed it later, you could see how much heat strips you were running, if you were using your heat strips efficiently or not. It's pretty groovy stuff.
29 kilowatts, $3. When did we install this? A week ago? Yeah, to the 21st. Today's the 1st. Yeah, so $3. Well, I don't remember, that one was $5 and $3.
Right, and these are the biggest energy consumers in your entire house.
So in a week, so that was 3, 6, let's say $10 times,
you know what I really
times
like about
4
this?
could realistically be like $50 instead of probably 300.
What I really like about this is you're still going to have these enormously high power bills, but I can at least prove that it's not my equipment now, so you can't blame me.
Why would I have if this is the lion's share of the energy consumption?
Maybe
I'm going to replace all the bulbs.
I think you have an energy mouse in your house. That was
Yeah,
funny.
it's possible. Yeah.
That was funny.
All right, so this powers the whole wing here,
The wing.
and then we have one upstairs. Where's the filter? Right in the
Yeah,
bottom.
big old filter here. You've got spares up in your.
They're right behind you.
Oh, where? Oh yeah, there they are, right there. Huh? Yeah, so these just slide in and out. You just point the arrow up when you install them.
So I guess this one and the one up in the attic are the same filters.
Right.
What about the mini split? Do we have filters on that?
It has a little washable filter in the front.
Okay.
It's just a
That I'll probably never
You
ever.
will probably never wash it. Yeah.
Right.
We're gonna come every 6 months, so we've already got you set up for
Okay.
6 months from now. We're gonna come, and 6 months after.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question. So 6 months, twice a year, someone needs
Which
to come
isn't
in.
enough for changing your filters, but actually
That's
these
fine.
filters is probably fine. Honestly, these filters, these are 4-inch media filters, so you probably are okay. On the ductless, you run that thing so rarely.
So clearly, I need one more. 'Cause I got 2, and I got 3 units.
Well, I mean, I threw in I was just nice throwing you in an extra one.
No, I mean I need to buy one.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
I just want you to tell me I'm a good guy.
Oh, you're a great guy.
Oh, thanks. That's what I wanted. This was the tough one, and actually, what I ended up doing is I ended up getting this is a standard base that's actually designed to fit the carriers, and it actually has decent framing in it. I mean, it's an insulated board box, but it actually has nice structural framing, and everything is nice and firm. And then when Les installed it, he anchored it down to the actual floor. Same thing here. We've got the line dryer installed right before the unit. We trapped and vented the drain, which is the proper way of installing the drain when it's set up this way.
So do I not have to worry about the drain when the guys come every 6 months? They'll flush it or dump some stuff in it.
You shouldn't have any issues with the drain. You shouldn't need to do anything.
But normally, like if you weren't coming to service it, I'd have to dump some vinegar in that line?
Yeah, vinegar is what we suggest. A lot of people use bleach, and there's nothing, and I mentioned this in the other video, there's nothing wrong with bleach. Bleach does a good job of you know, because what happens is you get all kinds of gunk that builds up in here. Because the water out of the air is completely untreated water. It's pulled straight out of the air.
Yeah.
With all the microbes and everything else that's in the air, and so it gets in here and builds up this gummy junk.
Yep.
So bleach does a great job of clearing it, but you don't know where that bleach is going. Let's say this pipe somewhere in the wall somewhere has a tiny, tiny leak.
Right.
And now you're dripping bleach on whatever is, you know, whatever it's on, or it drips on the ground and kills your bush, or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, this turned out really good. This is all actually return. So this is all return side, which is why you don't have a bunch of mastic all over the place. You don't really need it. And then we put the big return in the wall. And then we also still have the return connected down below, which frankly, I have no clue how Les got that connected, because that was like, for him to get his in there and get that all tabbed over and everything was quite a trial. And then this is where we just capped off. So this duct here, it looks like we're doing something really exotic here, but that's just where we capped off where that old duct was coming through. It's nothing. You can always put a piece of wood there or whatever if you want.
I mean, I'm never gonna touch this. Never gonna touch this room.
Yeah, so.
But it was jammed full of. I mean, remember the piping? Everything was all jacked up looking with that goofy looking solenoid on there, and yeah.
Yeah, and so you're not wasting the energy that you were wasting from blowing some air into that into the porch, because no matter how well you think a damper sealing, it's not sealing 100%. So you're leaking air 24 hours a day onto your porch for no reason. We reframed it in and packed it out, so that way we've got a nice big return there.
Right. So I need vents for all these oil bronze thingers. So we're gonna replace all those.
Yeah.
So we need to order all that crap.
Yep.
That's the biggest difference. Biggest perceivable difference for us was Kate's room over there, and then Ryan's room. I mean, now granted, it's 87 degrees outside, so it's not cold, but we're running this. I'm running this at I got it at 76, and it's 74 degrees up here now.
It's still.
I dialed in the attic.
I know, man. That's nice. So you get to you. Oh yeah, I want to look at the tear down job over here.
I mean, it's not there. That's all that really matters.
You regained this huge quantity of square footage here. Oh, hey, and you've got this big 240 volt plug in case you ever want to put a dryer up here, or maybe a range. Like say you want to stick say if I fall
an
on
air
hard
compressor.
Times, say if I fall on hard times, my wife kicks me out of the house, I could put a little kitchenette in here.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Live up in your attic. Maintain your air conditioners.
You're gonna have to climb out the window though. I don't want you walking through my house.
Probably not. Yeah, especially if I fall on hard times, I'll be really stinky. I'll be drinking a lot.
Know anybody having any babies? Do you need a new crib on the cheap?
See, the only noise that I have had some people complain about on this is there is that high there's a very high pitched high frequency sound, just because it's a high frequency. The compressor runs at high frequency when it ramps all the way up. So boy, I love these units. I just love them. They're not going to blow away either. Properly hurricane anchored. But this is also a kind of a weird code. We have to put these locking refrigerant caps on them. So they come with these factory caps that you can just twist off, but these you can't twist off with your hands. And the reason is because kids huff the refrigerant.
Really?
So so it's actually in the mechanical code. You have to have these caps on any port that's accessible. You have to have them. Yeah, you can feel like that's your suction line. It's super cold and sweaty.
So, what's the purpose of insulating it? Because it's coming in here.
What's the purpose of insulating? Well, there's two reasons to insulate it. First of all, is that the compressor actually uses the suction gas to cool the compressor. So if you have an uninsulated suction line, and in fact, in Florida, a lot of old houses that have chase lines, which is PVC, where they actually run the copper underneath the house, they will be uninsulated, and they'll pick up a lot of heat, which will cause the compressors to overheat. So that's one reason. But then the other reason is in heat mode, this actually is the discharge line, and so it actually contains all of the heat. And so if it's uninsulated, then you're going to run inefficiently in heat mode as well. So yeah, in heat, when you run this thing in heat mode, you don't want to be reaching around here and grabbing that, because it'll be, 190 degrees times.
I really want to debadge all these.
You want to debadge them?
Yeah, that looks so much cleaner.
No, don't do that. I mean, you can take this off. Oh, yeah, you can take. I mean, well, I shouldn't tell you that you should do that. As a contractor, I suggest that you do not do that, Mr. Homeowner. But definitely don't take this off, because then we won't.
Oh yeah, the service tag.
Yeah, we need that. Although with these systems, the thermostat does read it. But if they ever lost communication or something, then you wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't know. Well, and besides the fact that, for warranty claiming and everything, it's just good to have the data tags on it for verification. Yeah, Derek does a nice job. Oh no, wait a second. No. Yeah,
all right, Brian. So,
I feel like I'm in a compromised position right here, sitting.
Yeah,
here
I'm above you.
like
I'm always above you.
Yeah, that's usually the case.
Yeah, shoes off. I got a paint can over there with my small TV. Look how small that TV looks in comparison to those panels on the wall. So we're sitting here in the home theater, just figuring out all the Wi-Fi details of the air handler and the mini split. My question to you was, what does this frickin' stuff cost, right? And so we've done this whole series on air conditioning and obsessed air conditioning and water heater and all this stuff. And of course, if I'm watching it, and this is delicate because, there's some people perceive when you're talking about money that it's money, and I'm saying how great I am, or you're saying how great your company is, but really it's just that's the number. It's a fact. It's a cost.
My company's pretty great. That's a totally different subject.
So I want to know. Now I know what I paid. I know what this cost.
Right.
But I want a range. And it's difficult because there's different pricing, different parts of the country. You're telling me, and these things, they don't have a freaking MSRP. Like, why can't I just tell people what this costs?
Well, the reason is a couple things. First thing is, the reason why I'm not gonna, why I don't want Matt, because this is on me. I don't want Matt saying exactly what he's paying, and the reason is because it's kind of a trade secret what I pay for equipment, and Matt's really paying essentially what I pay for the equipment. And so I don't want Matt saying what I pay for equipment. I don't think that's wise, because obviously a small company is going to pay more than a company that buys more, and I'm kind of right in the middle. Anyway, point being, there is no MSRP. Because it's not an appliance. It's not like something you can just plug into the wall and just, I'm done. There's so many costs associated with installation of an air conditioner that are not fixed. Mm-hmm. Whether or not you're replacing copper lines, whether or not you have to, install new circuit breakers, whether or not all of the type of installation materials you're using. If you're in New York and you're using all metal ductwork and you have to build a whole new metal plenum, that's going to be much more expensive than what we have here. And then you have some markets where they're just free draft, where you just have a unit literally just sitting in a room and it's got one little duct coming off of it and it's a piece of cake. So it varies wildly.
So let's talk about this unit by unit. Just give me like an average, cost. So we have our mini split here, our ductless system. This room, the amount of work that we needed to do. Obviously, we needed to run a chase. We needed to drill the wall. We needed to run the copper lines. We needed to put a new pad. And
new pad. You have an electrical circuit. You have copper lines. You have the line hide, which is the cover on the outside.
There were 2 guys on this room for 8 hours, 9 hours, something like that.
Yeah, 2 guys. Yeah, 2 guys, probably about 8, I would say. Yeah. For the whole thing. So this installation, for us, I can tell you what we would normally charge for this installation, which would be this is a 1-ton system. It would be right around $4,600 probably.
Okay.
But the range of what you're going to see, depending on the market that you're in and the quality of the contractor who you're using, is probably going to be between $38 on the very low end for a complete install, up to about maybe $5,500 at the top end. And again, electrical is a big factor. So, how hard is the electrical going to be? How much of it do you have to do?
Now, what about the separate the 2 tons that I have are identical, right?
Right.
And so we have, one for the upstairs and one for the master area,
suite, yeah.
like the master and the office.
Yeah.
What do those things cost?
The range for those that you would probably see across the country would be somewhere between 7,000 up to probably 10 for the 2-ton systems. That would be about right. For us, we're going to be somewhere in that range. And honestly, I didn't look at the numbers or how this one came out. But
installed, like
that's fully installed, yeah. And so that's the whole shebang. That's not just the equipment. That's all the stuff that you saw us do.
And that's why it was so important for us when I started, when I said you're doing sizing and looking, you came out and you looked at what do you think, and obviously there's stuff that comes up that you didn't plan for,
right.
So you have to put that into your quote. But so when you quoted me the cost, I mean, it was based on the system installed. Was
correct, and a perfect example of this is that the labor that it took to rebuild the box underneath the one in the master suite, underneath the 2-ton in the master suite, that probably took us 2 hours to redo that, and plus the materials to do it, and we just have to eat that when we quote it.
Right.
Now there are companies that'll come back and give you change orders, and those are usually the ones that do the cheaper prices. If anything comes up, they don't have it covered, they're going to charge you more.
Right.
But in our model, and most established reputable contractors, they're going to give you one price, and they're going to do it for that price, no matter what they run into.
Right.
So it's sort of a crapshoot.
And then the big one, the 4-ton.
The 4-ton system, yeah, you're going to be like 85 up to maybe 12.
So the 4-ton isn't all that much more expensive than the 2-tons?
I mean, it's not that much more. I mean, yeah. So what did I say? I said 65 to 10, I think is what I said, or 6,000 to 10 in that range. I mean, I'm just making this up on the spot.
So mine's more expensive because we had to do the downflow and all that.
Right. Correct.
Extra.
Yours would have been on the high end of that. We cut in a whole new return. We rebuilt the entire return assembly coming into the unit. We had to put in an additional downflow box. Even in the 2-ton, yours wouldn't be on the low end of that spectrum, because even on the 2-ton, we put in a new pan. You have additional float switches that you have to install. It's it's in the middle of that range, and the 4-ton would have been probably in middle to high end of that range.
So I mean, you get why I'm asking this kind of stuff. I mean, when someone watches a video like this and they watch, I mean, shoot, it's hour and a half long or 2 hours long worth of footage, and we do all this process, and there's like all this dancing around this like, what does it actually cost?
Right.
And so to do a system like this is in the $30,000 range, $30-35 grand to do it.
We haven't added in the water heater either. So the water heater is less labor to install, less materials. It's less variable too. Mm-hmm. The only thing with the heat pump water heaters is you have to watch. Do you have adequate wire sizing? In this case, you did, so that's good. And then also, where are you going to put the condensate drain? So if you have a water heater that's in an upstairs place that's going to be hard to drain, that could be a significant amount of work. Mm-hmm. Those, I would say, you're generally looking at an install price between $2,500 and $32, maybe at the top end of that range.
Yeah, and that's about what my water system cost. Was a little over $3,000 to do that the full system. So
that one, I'll definitely tell you, you paid less than what you're going to pay most places. The guy who installed that, Derek, he's on the low end of the range.
Of the cost. Yeah,
what you're going to pay.
Yeah. So now, I mean, we just looked at some of the energy specs. I mean, I would guess. What do you think? We're going to save $200, $300, $400, $500 a month at times.
I'm afraid to guess, but yeah, I would say that on your absolute peak months, I think you're going to save $350 to $500 would be my guess.
Right.
And then in your off-peak months, you might save, anywhere from $180 to
$250.
It is diminishing returns, obviously, because you have months that you really hardly ever run the air.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So I mean, my guess is that I'm also transitioning to LED can lights. There's 45 of them in the house. And you could just feel the heat. I mean, I tried to change one of them out yesterday. I had to wait like a half an hour. It was so hot. So we're gonna have to that will change, and then I'm gonna have new appliances and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that I'm gonna save $4,000 or $5,000 a year over what I was paying before. Right. So and now granted it's gonna take several years for it to pay off, but.
You need to get that high efficiency washer and dryer though. That's the really important thing. That's the front loader.
No, screw that. Those things don't freaking work. I threw those away.
That's why I said that.
In both houses.
I know you have a problem with those.
They save water, but I have a well, so I'm good.
Yeah. So the water heater I think is going to save you more than it would most people because of the recirculator. So Matt has a recirculator on the system that is pumping hot water across the house. Plus, his hot water lines aren't insulated. So with your old, so I mean that's not good. But with your old 120 gallon electric system, you're taking straight electric strips electric elements
Right.
and heating that water all the time for that. Whereas now you're running,
Right.
4 times more efficient.
Yeah. Cool. Anyway, great project. We got to tie up a few loose ends just to finish it up. I mean, the little tiny things, and we're completely done. So I should be good for what, 10, 12 years?
I hope so. I'm sure you'll be bothering me in between then. But we are coming back twice a year, every year, to clean and
Right.
inspect. And on the ductless especially,
Right.
you definitely need to maintain these.
So
Because,
so what does that cost? I don't even
do,
I don't even know what I signed up for.
well, no. So the first year we include it. We
Okay.
include it in the price. I'm not going to reveal this because we actually need to increase our pricing. That's one of the things I just analyzed and found out we were losing money on. So
Okay.
need to change that. But so what I was going to tell you before you interrupted me is these need to be maintained because they don't have any protection against moisture. So if this thing were to start backing up, if the drain backed up, there's no pan or anything underneath it. It would just start dripping water all over your room. So you have to clean those drains consistently, and there's no easy way to do it. And this is universal with ductless systems. There's nothing. What are you going to do? Take a metal pan and stick it underneath it or something? You have
Right.
no option. So you
Right.
just have to make sure if you have a ductless system, you need to be having it cleaned regularly by someone who is actually cleaning it and not just pulling it out and washing the filters. Like you got to get in there and clean the drain pan at the minimum, and then occasionally you even need to pull the blower wheel out completely and clean it, which is an in-depth process. But
Right.
that's why you hire professionals.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate all your help, and I think I'm really surprised that people really. It seemed like they enjoyed the video series. I thought it would be worthwhile sharing because everybody has an air conditioner, or the vast majority of people, at least that watch this stuff, have an air conditioning system, and I've all dealt with. I mean, the last frickin' thing in the world I wanted to buy was a new AC system. But just like all things in life, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to try to find someone who's an expert and do it right. And I think that's, what obsessed people do. And so I thought it'd be valuable to anybody, whether you need a new AC system today or not. I thought it was worthwhile. So thanks for doing the video. And as always, stay tuned for more crazy. What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor.